Royal lives remain of interest to many ordinary people because of how different their lives are, and the number of secrets surrounding them. Due to lack of documentation or intentional cover-ups, many questions still litter the stories of royalty from times gone by. Little evidence exists to debunk centuries-old tales of royal murders, missing bodies, and lost treasures. Welcome to History Mystery. Today we look at history's unsolved royal mysteries. Support us by subscribing, liking and sharing this video. Let's get into the shocking unsolved royal mysteries. Princess Louise was regarded as the most attractive and disobedient of Queen Victoria's daughters. When Louise was 18 years old, her younger brother Leopold was assigned a tutor in Lieutenant Walter George Stirling. The princess and the queen both liked Stirling, but only 4 months later he was unexpectedly fired from his position. Stirling only served the royal family for a brief period of time, thus his lavish payoffs including an official title and allowance were viewed as extraordinary. He had impregnated Louise, according to the recurrent rumor surrounding this and his abrupt departure. History claims that there is evidence linking Sir Charles Locock, Queen Victoria's long-standing gynecologist, to the incident. Sir Charles's son Frederick did not observe the Victorian norm of giving a year of mourning after his mother unexpectedly passed away. Frederick married his fiancée 6 weeks after his mother passed away, and 4 months later, they hurriedly adopted a baby boy they named Henry. Henry was born in the year Princess Louise was said to be expecting, and he lacked a birth certificate and no previous records. Additionally, the very month Henry was adopted, Frederick started getting a sizable but mysterious allowance. According to historian Lucinda Hawksley, Henry resembled members of the royal family and she thought the stories to be real. The Telegraph claims that Locock's descendants have attempted to obtain a DNA sample from their ancestors' remains but have been unsuccessful. Queen Elizabeth I had numerous suitors, but she refused to wed any of them. As a result, tales of an improbable romance with courtier Robert Dudley spread. The two remained together constantly after Elizabeth took the throne and Dudley advanced to important posts in the court. Even though she was far from the royal court, Dudley's wife, Amy Robsart, was aware of the reported relationship. Amy's dead body was found in 1560 by household staff at the bottom of a stairway in Cumnor Hall. Numerous people believed Queen Elizabeth and Dudley were both to blame for her unsolved death. The rumors that Amy was murdered were only exacerbated by information about Amy and Dudley's troubled marriage, and the Queen's purported extramarital relationship. Following the War of the Roses, a series of civil wars between the houses of Lancaster and York, Edward IV of England was the first Yorkist monarch to assume the British throne. In 1470, they welcomed their first son, also named Edward, and in 1473, they had their second son, Richard, Duke of York. Following the king's passing in 1483, his 12-year-old successor Edward V took the kingdom. Richard, Duke of Gloucester, the new king's uncle, was designated as the head of state's guardian. Conflict erupted a few months into Edward V's rule between the Lord Protector and those who supported the Queen Mother, and wanted to remove the Duke of Gloucester. The Duke had those supporters detained, then imprisoned Edward V and his younger sibling in the Tower of London, which had previously served as both a royal home and a prison. The Duke of Gloucester persuaded British citizens that his brother's union with Elizabeth Woodville was unlawful, and as a result, the two princes were not legitimate and were not suitable to rule. In this manner, King Richard III ascended to the throne, but his two younger nephews vanished without a trace. Many believe that Richard III ordered the brothers' deaths, while others believe that the skeletons discovered in the tower in 1674 were actually theirs. When Cleopatra started a love and political relationship with Mark Antony, a member of the Roman triumvirate, she was the Queen of Egypt. Octavian, Julius Caesar's designated heir, won the battle, and the most powerful lovers in ancient history committed suicide. Following erroneous reports that Cleopatra had been killed by Octavian's army, Mark Antony committed suicide in 31 BC, and Cleopatra followed suit not long after. The queen allegedly received a bite from an Egyptian cobra. Mark Antony and Cleopatra were buried together, and their bodies even shared a tomb, despite Octavian's tense relationship with both of them. However, the precise location of the burial site is still unknown. The Romanov family was the final imperial dynasty to rule Russia. The dynasty was among the wealthiest in all of Europe throughout their 300-year reign. By the time Imperial Russia was ended, it had amassed a lavish collection of crown jewels with a market worth of almost $45 billion. The jewels varied, some were rare pieces possessed by foreign tyrants, while others were unearthed in Russian mines. During the 1917 Russian Revolution, the Bolshevik government imprisoned, then executed Tsar Nicholas II, his family, and his servants, putting an end to the Romanov dynasty. The crown jewels were retained following discussions over what to do with them between nationalists and historians. But in 2012, researchers found proof that some of the crown jewels were missing. At least 4 items were missing from the official 1925 inventory, which was believed to be complete, according to photographs from 1922 found in the U.S. Geological Survey Library. A diadem, a bracelet, and a necklace were among the things that had gone missing. A sapphire brooch that was the last thing to go missing was later discovered to have been purchased at a London auction in 1927. It is often believed that Queen Victoria and her manservant John Brown had a romantic relationship, despite the fact that their acquaintance was only platonic. The alleged relationship between the Queen and Brown was claimed to have lasted 20 years after the passing of the Queen's adored husband Albert. The Queen's body was surrounded by several objects that belonged to Brown on her deathbed. According to rumors, she was given a photograph of Brown to hold in her hand and was instructed to wear Brown's mother's wedding band. Numerous people have made hints that something is being hidden. After Beatrice, her daughter, edited Victoria's diaries, only a few references to Brown remained. Both Victoria's draft of her memoir on Brown and Brown's own journals were long since lost. At the age of 14, Marie Antoinette was wed off to King Louis XVI in an effort to forge a partnership between France and Austria. Marie Antoinette had an affair with the Swedish ambassador Count Axel von Fersen while she was a guest at the French court. The Queen and von Fersen utilized codes and invisible ink to keep their relationship a secret, according to letters they exchanged. The letters also imply that von Fersen surreptitiously fathered 2 of Marie Antoinette's children towards the end of the 2-decade-long relationship. Louis Charles, the king's heir, and Princess Sophie were widely believed to be Louis XVI's offspring. A letter from von Fersen acquaintance Quinton Crawford, confirming the existence of the children, is the most conclusive proof of their paternity. Von Fersen was openly acknowledged by Crawford in the letter as generally supposed to be the father of the present Dauphin. Tsar Ivan IV, better known as Ivan the Terrible, and his 7th wife had just one child, Dmitry Ivanovich. Dmitry and his mother were banished to Uglich after the Tsar's passing because it would have political repercussions. The mentally challenged son of the late Tsar, Fyodor, was given the throne of Russia, but Godunov was really in charge, and banishing Dmitry further strengthened his position. The young Dmitry was found dead in a courtyard in Uglich, with a knife in his hand and his throat sliced. The youngster had suffered a severe epileptic convulsion while participating in a knife-throwing game, which caused him to fall on a knife and cut his own throat. This death was ruled an accident. Whether what happened to Dmitry was an accident or not rapidly came up for discussion. Godunov was frequently mentioned as a suspect since he stood to earn significantly from the boy's passing, although there was never any concrete proof of his involvement in the crime. What royal mysteries in history do you know about? Let us know in the comment box. While you are at it, remember to subscribe and check out these other videos you might enjoy.